Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. We've got a local tournament going on right now out on the river. It's a 2-day tournament. We call it the Up Down, where we've got the first day on a body of water that's above a dam. The second day it's on the stretch of river below the dam. 2-day combined weight. And I was recently talking to a competitor in that event who was telling me about how fishing's been tough, but they found one little area that they know they'll have to themselves where they had a couple of really nice bites, so they were planning on starting there. And I looked at the angler, I said, well, why are you starting there? And they said, well, because that's where we had our biggest bites. And my response back was, if you think you're gonna have those bites to yourself, meaning they're off they're not community, they're like secret little spots, then you might wanna think about not starting there, because you could start in other places, catch some fish, and then go to that area where you think you're gonna have it to yourself. And it kind of took the angler off guard, because they were like, well, why would we do that? That's not where our best fish are. And I was basically just giving them a whole nother tournament strategy to think about. Because oftentimes I think a lot of anglers don't plan out their tournament day based on strategy versus we're just going to where we had the best fish. And in reality, a lot of times tournaments are won based on anglers having a better strategy than anglers that had just found some fish in practice. So I want to walk you through some of the different approaches that I take in terms of determining where I'm going to fish throughout the tournament day, because it really is more of a chess match than just simply going to wherever you had bites in practice. It's not that simple, because a lot of times if you go to where you had bites in practice and you do it in the wrong order, it's going to end up costing you. You're actually not going to have a good day on the water because you weren't fishing those spots at the right time. You hear people talk about timing all of the time, and that timing is very, very important. So I'm going to kind of break down some of the things that I really analyze in terms of determining when I'm going to go to spots during the tournament day. Before I get into these, though, I do want to remind you guys that if you're looking for some additional content from me, check out my members only page. You can go to my YouTube homepage, click the join button, find out all about it. In fact, tonight we've actually got our monthly live stream for the members. I'm going to have special guests. My wife Sara is going to join in on that. We're going to talk about things going on in the tournament world, some of the things that we're exploring based on our BPT invite, as well as our last tournament and kind of how we function as a tournament fishing family. So if that interests you, you might want to join the members page. And then I think tonight the live stream's at 7:30 Central Time. Okay, so let's talk about tournament fishing, because this is relevant right now based on the tournament that's going on the river. As a tournament boat looks like they're actually fishing right by the house. They don't know that we fished it out this morning, but so in reality, it's not as simple as just going to the spots that you think are the best. So here are some of the things that I'm always thinking about. The first, and I touched on it just a tad, the first thing is based on how well is a spot known. Is it a community spot or is it not a community spot? If it is a community spot, a lot of times I'll try to start on a community spot because I know it's a good spot for a reason. And the problem with a community spot is if you don't fish it first or relatively early in the day, a lot of times it'll have a boat on it all day long, and those spots just tend to not replenish throughout the day because of all the fishing pressure they're going to get. So sometimes it is a good tournament strategy to start on the most popular spots on the lake. Now, to counter that, the second thing I always am analyzing is, if it's not a community spot, how well do I think I might have that spot to myself? Meaning, is it kind of a hidden little gem that I don't think anyone's going to know about? Or is it something that throughout the course of several days of practice, I feel confident other people are going to fish? If it is a hidden gem that I think I'm going to have to myself, a lot of times I won't touch that until I absolutely need to, or if I'm looking for a good quality fish. So if it's a single one-day tournament, I will definitely hit it, but I'll try to hit it later in the day because I can save that spot. If it's a spot that I think other anglers probably found or know about and will fish throughout the tournament day, that will move my decision to fish that spot up earlier in the day, especially if the quality size fish were good. If they're good, then I might start there versus say going to a community spot, because I know it's going to get fished at some point throughout the day. I would really like to be the first person to make a pass through that area. And if all the other conditions align up right, that could be a starting spot for me. But I very, very, very rarely will ever go to a spot that I feel like I'll have to myself, no matter when I fish it. There's no reason, in my opinion, to go to that spot first when there's plenty of other good spots that I can go to and not only fish first, but it actually plays a little bit of defense too, because if I can make a pass through there and catch fish, my competitors who come through those areas a little bit later in the day will then not be able to catch those fish because I've already caught them. So that's something to keep in mind. The next things that you're going to try to evaluate to determine how good a spot is and when to fish a spot really comes down to your specific conditions for that day or that time of year. So one of those is definitely going to be time of day. So maybe in practice you fished a spot and you were catching fish flipping to bushes or isolated shade patches. Maybe that happened at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you went through there in the morning, maybe the entire bank at that point is going to be shaded. That bank's probably not going to be as good as it was when you went through there at 1 o'clock and found a few isolated shade patches. So I'm going to try to determine if the spot that I fished and had bites is a spot that's going to have bites throughout the day, or is it going to be a spot that's it's going to be very specific to the conditions of that day, meaning sun position or cloud position. Is that something that's going to come into play? So you want to evaluate that. Another specific to look at is the bait that's in that area. So maybe, for example, you're fishing a blueback herring lake and you're fishing points. Well, those points may be better or worse depending on time of day, because the blueback herrings may be there in a specific time of day. So, you know, same thing goes for, say, like shad. If you're fishing a shad spawn, maybe the shad spawn's happening first thing in the morning, so you want to be there first thing in the morning. But that point, say around noon, isn't probably going to be nearly as good because the shad spawn's not happening. So you want to make choices based on the forage as well that you're fishing. You know, if you happen to be fishing a bluegill spawn pattern during the middle part of summer, probably doesn't matter what time you pull up. You could be there first thing in the morning, you could be there in the afternoon. The bluegill are going to be there regardless. So from a strategic spot rotation, your bluegill beds are generally going to be something you can work in throughout the day, and they should be good throughout the day. So you want to recognize your forage species. Are the fish in that specific location at a specific time of day because of the forage being there a specific time of day? So that's another condition that you want to look at. A third condition would have to be your current and water flow through the lake. Now, this is generally going to be more natural current, but it can also be dictated by wind-driven current as well. Maybe in the morning, you've got no wind. In the afternoon, the wind kicks up, and you're going to have fish positioning better based on the wind-driven current. But generally speaking, a lot of this has to do more with your natural current flowing through lakes. This happens all the time on your ledge fishing lakes, like the Tennessee River lakes. Happens all the time here on the Wisconsin River where I'm at, where you have a lot of dams that are built to generate power. So if they start generating power, they're pushing more water through the system. When they start pushing that water through the system, that increase in current positions the fish in more likely current-related areas. So from a tournament perspective, if you're fishing Chickamauga Lake and you're out on a ledge first thing in the morning and they haven't started generating power, that ledge spot is probably not going to be nearly as good as it will be when they start generating power, pushing more water through, and the fish get a lot more active. So you want to try to identify current flows and whether or not the current is actually going to be turned on throughout the day. So that's something as well that is very, very important. Now, some lakes that you're fishing have no actual current flow that's coming in or out of them, or some don't have like a controlled current flow, so it really is dictated more just by rain or the conditions that, you know, of that lake. But all lakes tend to have a dam that will release water at certain times of the day, whether it's for creating power or whether it's just to control lake elevations, you still generally have fluctuation in current flows throughout the day. And in most cases, if you don't know this, you can usually call the dam operators and find out what the current flow is and if they plan to release more. That really is, that happens from the smallest little dams to the giant big dams like Hoover Dam. You can usually call and find out. A lot of them actually have pre-recorded numbers. The dams on the river that I live on, you can call a number and it's a pre-recorded daily message saying this is what flows are for the day. So you can monitor it from that standpoint. And then the last criteria a lot of times comes down to not only length of tournament, but as well as your fishing style. So what I mean by that is I'll make decisions on what spots to fish based on the length of the tournament. So if it's a one-day event, I'll usually either try to really fish out all of the spots I'm fishing or key in specifically on just big fish spots. If it's a 3 or 4 day event, I'll try to catch what I need that I think is a good bag, but also at the same time not fish out spots because I know I might need to catch some of those fish for the next day. So if I've fished 3 spots and I've got a good limit and I've got 3 days left in that tournament, I'm not going to go to my other spots that I know about and burn those fish up. I usually will go practicing and try to find new spots to add to my rotation. If it's a one-day event, I'm trying to catch everything that I can, and I'm generally targeting spots that I feel like will provide bigger fish. The other aspect to that, though, is what type of fisherman are you? What baits do you like to use? And what I mean by that is you can rotate through spots that other anglers have fished a lot of times more successfully if you are throwing different baits. So for example, if you are on a smallmouth lake and there's a popular point that people are fishing and all they're fishing are drop shots and Ned rigs, but you like to throw topwaters or jerk baits, in my opinion, your likelihood is to trigger a couple extra bites on that point better throwing different baits than if you were throwing the same baits that other anglers were using. This holds true kind of all over the place. You know, if you're fishing a frog and you're fishing down a bank that 20 other guys have fished a frog on because there's isolated little mats, you're probably not going to generate as many bites. But if you decide to go down that bank punching, you might generate a couple extra bites. So your lure rotation a lot of times can help you figure out where to put a spot in a rotation as well. If you want to do the same thing everyone else is doing, you probably want to be in that rotation sooner versus if you're throwing different baits and you're really doing something different, a lot of times that can still generate bites even though a bunch of boats have gone through. Basically, guys, what I'm trying to get at with this video is it's not simply go to where you had bites in practice. There is a lot more that goes into being a successful tournament fisherman based on the rotation of these spots. So you need to identify the right time to be there, why you need to be there at that specific time, what bait to be throwing, and whether or not that spot is community or secret. All of those things that you take into account will give you a much better rotation of spots that will increase the number of fish that you're catching, which leads to better tournament finishes. Don't just run to your best spot all of the time. That's not necessarily the best move for you. Guys, I hope this helps you. This is something I run into all of the time with new tournament anglers and anglers that are really trying to get better at tournament fishing. This is one of the most important things to being a successful angler. So hopefully this helps you. If you at home have some other good suggestions for new tournament anglers out there or choosing what spots to fish, please leave that in the comments section so that we can learn from you guys as well. Otherwise, get yourself out there. If you're a tournament angler, and analyze the spots you want to fish, it will make you a better angler. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. We'll have a new video coming out tomorrow for you.